Larry was every mother's dream. He didn't get into trouble. He loved to read. He loved sports. The first time that he really started having trouble was when he was about 12. We really didn't know what was wrong, but we knew that something was wrong. Sometimes he would appear to be very frightened of things, and you could see the fear in his eyes. So we took him to Family and Children's Service, and they were not able to diagnose the problem. He told me after he was gone that he always heard the voices. He thought everybody did. We got him to our private doctor and our local hospital when we first realized how serious things were. But when they found out he didn't have insurance, they were quite anxious to discharge him from the hospital, and they wouldn't tell us what to do whenever he talked about the voices or when he made these strange statements. They just kept telling us not to take him home. You can't just put him out on the street. And we were told, well, you'd be surprised, we do it every day. There are a lot of schizophrenics out on the street.
And all they would ask me was, has he ever been violent? And I said, no, Larry's never been violent. Then we can't keep him longer than 30 days. I said, is he well? And they said, no, he's not well, and he'll get worse if he doesn't get treatment, but we can't keep him any longer. Unfortunately, the first violence he was ever accused of in his whole life was murdering 5 people. We were absolutely horrified.
We first read about the crime in the newspaper, not realizing that our son had anything to do with it.
We knew Larry was sick, but we didn't know he was that sick.
Larry begged us for help. We begged everybody for help, and nobody would help us to get us the treatment that he needed. And the people in this country don't know that this is happening. They have no idea this is happening. And I'm determined that we're going to tell it to the whole world.
Alternative! Now!
I think that our primary responsibility in this country is to take care of the people who can't take care of themselves. And unfortunately, in our country, we don't do a very good job of taking care of our mentally ill. And we're paying the price for it. Texas is 50th in the nation for taking care of their mentally ill. And presently they are cutting mental health funding so they can build more prisons.
If you kill somebody or do something terrible like that, that's what should happen.
I think they ought to act on it quicker.
That's wrong. Justice is justice. Eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.
Kill them! Kill them all! Child molesters, rapists. Kill them!
I don't think anybody has any idea how it affects the families of the people. I mean, when they tell you that at a certain day and a certain hour, we're going to kill your son, I don't know really how I'm going to live through it. I really haven't faced that yet. I just have lived through all these years just from day to day thinking that surely, this can't happen.
I have mixed feelings about this topic, but if something like that happened to me, where one of my loved ones, my parents, my sister, or anyone was murdered, I don't think that I would have a strong heart to forgive or say, you deserve a punishment, but killing isn't the punishment.
Do I think one person needs to be made an example of? Yes, absolutely. Because you need to instill that fear. That's what the death penalty is for, the fear that if I do this, I'm going to be punished. That's the whole purpose of it. These people need to be made an example of so that others don't think that they can.
So you want it to be swift?
No, swift, I'm not saying like, okay, in 2 days. I understand there's a process to it. A year, 2 years, fine. But 20 years sometimes? 20 years?
Everybody knows that only poor people get executed. So maybe it'd be a deterrent to poor people, but it wouldn't be a deterrent to anybody else.
I met Suzanne Bosler probably before I met anybody else here that's on this journey.
What she has lived through and survived and been subjected to is incomprehensible. And to have such a sweet, forgiving, trusting soul. Whoa.
What would you do if you were me? My name is Suzanne Bosler, and I am a victim. I watched my father get stabbed 24 times, and I was only stabbed 6 times. My father died, and I survived. But there's a reason. And one of the reasons is why I'm here today. I'm against the death penalty. And believe you me, I'm not condoning what he did. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not wanting him out running the streets. Absolutely not. But I do not want me to be a part of killing him. I forgave James Bernard Campbell. I didn't just do it for me. I did it for my father, and I did it for God. My father and I had this, I keep calling it a debate, talk about the death penalty. He said, if someone were able to kill or murder me, I would still not want that person to get the death penalty. I'll never forget that. If you can't forgive, you're hurting yourself inside. I learned that.
That pain lasts for a long time when a loved one's been murdered, especially if you don't have a way to deal with that pain. My father found my grandmother's body. It was a terrible, terrible thing for him to walk in on. So when I got involved in not wanting Paula to be executed, I knew that he was going to find that hard to understand. I didn't argue with my dad or debate with my dad. We don't talk about the death penalty. We don't talk about Paula Cooper. And unfortunately, we don't talk about my grandmother very much either.
I came here first in 1996 for the Virginia Journey of Hope. I had heard about it through Amnesty International in Ireland, and I had an incredible experience. And I knew the only way I could ever come back was if I quit smoking. So I stopped smoking and I saved up my money, and here I am.
My husband was murdered, and I'm just here to say that the politicians aren't going to use me anymore. They're not going to make me a victim twice.
My priority is to end the death penalty. The first journey that I was invited to was Texas, and it was my home state, so it was an absolute no-brainer about whether to come or not. It was just a matter of how long I could actually be here.
Raise your hand if you're going to Huntsville. The people that are going to Huntsville in time for the execution will leave either from here or they'll leave when they're ready to leave.
I'm not going to Huntsville. I'm done with Huntsville.
Of course I'm not. I can't imagine.
I got all the kids.
This is a movement for peace. Anyone who believes in peace and nonviolence must inherently believe in what we're doing.
Go home. Hey.
When I wrote Billy Austin, I tried really hard to make sure that Billy wasn't a sympathetic character. To me, it's not about innocent people. It doesn't make any difference to me. It's wrong. It's always seemed wrong to me.
Name's Billy Austin. I'm 29 years old. And I was born in Oklahoma, quarter Cherokee, I'm told.
Oh, Bill, it's so good to see you.
Welcome to the journey.
All right, I'm glad to be here.
What happened to Marietta Yeager shouldn't happen to anyone. It's the unimaginable. It's the inconsolable. It upsets the order of the universe.
Marietta's story is probably one of the most powerful stories that I have ever heard. I cannot even imagine what it would be like to have something that precious taken from you.
She is a shining being because just to be in her presence is a blessing. And to hear her words is an experience you never forget.
Welcome to Texas.
To Texas, here I am. I went on a camping trip with all my children, 5 kids, and my husband. And I got down on my knees and I reached over to kiss each one of the kids goodnight. And my youngest daughter, Susie, who was only 7 years old, was the hardest for me to reach. And I could hardly reach her. My lips just sort of skimmed across her cheek as I kissed her goodnight.